Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Adventures in Minecraft. In the last one, I set out to build a totally overpowered overworld XP farm, and don't worry, I will not disappoint. We're going to get this thing done, and off camera I've been doing a ton of work trying to build something which would be reliable and efficient and completely awesome, and I've done a lot of experimenting. And the whole idea is, as I mentioned in the last one, to get as much XP as possible, as quickly as possible. So what you can see behind me is, of course, what we did in the last episode, and it's basically the TNT killing chamber for the mobs. And this is something which has remained constant throughout all of my experimenting. I basically stuck with a similar design as we started off with, but the pixel rifts farm, the survival farm which we've got on top of there, that is, well, it was only temporary. It was only a testing farm, and we're definitely not going to be using that as the actual farm. I'm thinking on a very, very huge scale, and well, I guess let me just show you what kind of scale I'm thinking on. So I have a few cool things to show you, actually, and first of all is this. Yes, I hope I've impressed you with the scale of this, but you may be disappointed. Don't get your hopes too high. I mean, this was my original idea, right? So this is actually a spawning platform for all of the mobs to spawn on, and we've got, in all of the four corners, we've got water sources. So it's exactly the same design as Pixel Rifts, but it's just scaled up. I mean, you can see that thing down there. It is minuscule right next to my head. Actually, I should probably get out of F5 mode, right? That thing is absolutely tiny down there compared to compared to this whole huge spawning platform. I mean, I thought that that was, you know, kind of big in the beginning, but yeah, I was surprised by my own ambition here. But it's, yeah, I mean, it might get a little bit worse. As you'll see, I'm going to show you all of the progress that I've made, and I'm going to sort of take you through how the design evolved. So obviously we started off last episode with the TNT killing machine there, and this is the same thing, but what I've done is I've just added a huge platform on top. And yeah, you may be wondering how long this took. This took ages to build, absolutely ages, even using World Edit, because all of these diagonals are so hard. You can't actually create diagonals easily in World Edit, or at least as far as I'm aware. So I kind of had to do a lot of this manually. But if we go down below, you'll see that we've got the exact same TNT killing design. But something to actually note here is that this is centered around 4 blocks. It's not centered around a single block. And that will become important once I show you the rest of the designs. You can see that this whole thing looks a little bit different to what it was before, and this entire area looks a bit mental, to be honest. And let me try and explain what's going on here. So first of all, what I've done is I've taken the spawning platform and centered it around 1 block, whereas before it was centered around 4 blocks, and that's just so it's easier to figure out where the player has to stand. So now I know where the player has got to stand. If I just go into creative mode here and glitch through the blocks, brilliant. Essentially, this is the place that the player has to stand, has to AFK, and 24 blocks surrounding the player, no mobs can spawn. So I actually built a huge sphere here using World Edit of 24 blocks in radius, and that was just to try and figure out where the mobs could and couldn't spawn. And it used to go up to here, and you can see that some of the spawn platforms are missing from here. That's just because if they were at this level here, for example, mobs would not be able to spawn on them anyway, considering the player being so close. So just to show you what some of these levers actually do, we've got one here which switches between TNT mode, which is just killing the mobs with TNT, and drop shaft mode. So if I flick it into drop shaft mode, you can see that a shaft opens up there, and the mobs fall down, and then they fall down into this 1 block tube right here, and they fall basically to their deaths. And I was also experimenting with a different system over here, which I kind of ditched in the end, which was to bring the mobs back up from this drop shaft after they took enough fall damage to be 1-hit kills, and then bring them over here, and then say you had a looting sword or something like that, you could get more and more items from them. So I thought that would be a really cool idea at first, because obviously you would get more items, and it's kind of another way of killing the mobs rather than killing them with the TNT. Say you run out of TNT. But I ditched the idea because it's just too complicated and unnecessary, to be honest. And this farm is really more to do with the XP. That's what I'm interested in for this farm. And yeah, so that's what this lever's here for: the switching between instant death, which means that block's retracted, and actually bringing them up to this location here. Oh, and a completely random side note here. I was trying to figure out how much the range of TNT is, not in terms of block damage, but in terms of entity damage. And I looked up the Wikipedia article and also tried to, experiment a little bit, as you can see here. And originally I came up with designs like this for the TNT killing chamber. But when I tried to test the range of the TNT on entities, this is the maximum range for damage, which I think is 8 blocks, as far as memory serves me. Hopefully memory serves me correctly there. And over here, this is the death range. So any mob inside this range, or any hostile mob at least, should die if TNT blows up directly in the center here. And sometimes the TNT falls to the side or something like that from the top, which means that not all the mobs are killed, but it's pretty accurate and pretty efficient. And that is how I actually created the size for the TNT killing platforms over there. But overall, in the end, after so much trial and error, I decided to ditch the whole spawning platform design and go for a shifting floor farm instead, because this thing is just so much more efficient and just blows the other farm out of the water in terms of its rates and how quickly we can get mobs into this killing area. So obviously the hostile mob cap is 70 mobs. So once that platform actually fills up with 70 mobs, that means that it's basically full for one TNT block to be destroyed and harvest all of those mobs. And with that farm over there, with the spawning platforms, and the actual platform, the main platform, which is all of this, activated as well, it actually took pretty much a minute to get 70 mobs into that area. And without, or rather using this farm, it basically took about like a number of seconds, maybe like 30 seconds or 20 seconds to get this whole thing filled up. And by the time I'd blown up all of the mobs with TNT, when I'd looked up back again, there was already 70 mobs again in the actual killing chamber. So this thing is super fast, and it's a design by Ilmango, and I'll link that one in the description because you really ought to check it out. The only problem with it is it actually causes a lot of lag on my world, but that's probably because my computer isn't very good, and it's something that I can pretty much put up with. Okay, believe me, this is the last farm I'm going to be showing you today. This is the final design, the absolute final design that I went for, and you can see, yeah, it doesn't look as impressive as all of those other huge spawning platforms that we have, because I've condensed down the whole water stream into just this little platform here, and that's because I'm not bothered about using that as a spawning platform anymore. This thing is already way too overpowered, and I don't need to go for size when I can go for efficiency. So it's so overpowered that I basically only need the water streams to be there to catch the mobs. I don't need it to be able to be toggled on and off so that we can spawn mobs on here. And yeah, this is the design that I'm actually going to be building in the survival world. But believe me, this thing is super fast, and it's absolutely brilliant. So I'm going to give it a go and just show you how it works. So I tried very hard to run the farm and actually record at the same time, so you get an idea of how exactly it works and how fast it actually is. But my game crashed, and basically my computer just can't handle the two things at once. It can't handle recording and running this completely OP farm. I mean, just look at the amount of mobs in there. We've already got 70 mobs, well, apparently 74, which shouldn't really be possible because that's over the mob cap, but I'm not sure how that works. Anyway, We've got a certain amount of mobs in there, but they're filled up to the mob cap. We wouldn't get any more even if the farm was on. Obviously, it's off at the moment. And just to show you, I guess, the other part of the mobs, of the farm, sorry, which is just killing the mobs. I've got the auto kill active, as this lovely light indicates right here, which is this switch here. And that's basically just wired up to a dispenser which has flint and steels in it. So when I put down a piece of TNT right here, it will go and blow up the mobs automatically. And this is sort of a fail-safe method. If I don't want any of the XP, but I just want the items, then this is the way to do that. So that means I don't really need a drop shaft for anything anymore, and I probably don't even have to include this on the survival version of this farm. I might just build it for fun, but I don't really need it. But anyway, in the time that we've been talking, this farm is so fast that it would already filled up with another 70 mobs. So it's absolutely insane. But unfortunately, I can't switch it on or it will crash my game. So we're back in my survival world, and the first thing we're going to be doing is tearing down this entire sugarcane farm. Which is probably not what you're expecting me to say, but there's two reasons why I'm actually going to be doing this. The first thing is that this thing is really, really ineffective, it's really inefficient, and it's produced a fair bit of sugarcane over the over the time that it's actually been built, but it's just taken ages and ages to actually produce the stuff, and it's really, really, it's rubbish basically. It's a really old farm, and I'm sure there's much more efficient ways of actually farming sugarcane than this. Second of all, we need loads and loads of pistons. Okay, so we need loads and loads of pistons for this shifting mob farm, and I could go and craft them. I have all the resources, but I figured that I could do two jobs in one by getting rid of this. And actually there's a third reason as well, which is that we're going to need tons and tons of sugarcane for this XP farm, because we're going to need TNT all the time, and that requires paper, which requires sugarcane. So I was thinking of actually building a new farm, one of Ilmango's designs, or one of someone from the Psycraft server, I'm pretty sure, will have designed a really, really cool sugarcane farm with some flying machines and things. So yeah, I'm just going to go and tear this old one down, and yeah, it does look pretty cool, to be honest, but I guess we're going to have to put up with getting rid of it. Well, that is all done. All of the entire farm has been removed from this area, and to be honest, that took a very, very long time, but this place is looking nice and clean, and I'm kind of happy that I've gotten rid of that thing. Yeah, I mean, I did say that it looked quite cool, but to be honest, I think I can build something better here, and something more useful, perhaps a bamboo farm, judging by the fact that we have a little bit of overgrowth there. So I think I'm going to go and harvest some of that bamboo, actually, and see whether I can make some scaffolding, because that will be very, very useful for when we're going over to build the XP farm. And as you can see in here, we've got tons and tons of resources now, which will also help us. And another useful thing about destroying this entire farm was the fact that we got loads and loads of iron, which will be useful in making pistons and other things as well, like hoppers, which is pretty useful considering making this huge XP farm. This makes the most amazing sound when you actually knock it down, and I'm also tearing down part of my wall now, apparently. But yeah, this is amazing. I love chopping down bamboo. It's really cool. And there we have it. We have our first few blocks of scaffolding here. I say few, but quite a few there. But you know what? I don't care, because I think that scaffolding is the coolest block ever in Minecraft, and the most useful block. I mean, yeah, I guess I'm going to have to get underneath that to place it. Nope, I can place it like that. I absolutely love scaffolding. I just think it's awesome. This is very, very odd. I've never been able to see that mob farm from this close, because my render distance is pretty high at the moment. 30 chunks, yes, that's much higher than I thought it was, but this is kind of cool. I have never been able to see that far away before. That's ridiculous. And that is actually where I'm going right now, because I need to go and start crafting the ridiculous amount of resources that we need to actually build this XP farm. And the first thing I wanted to go and craft, just for the hell of it, was TNT. And for TNT, we need loads and loads of gunpowder, and we need loads and loads of sugarcane. So I already have the sugarcane back at the farm, which I just destroyed. But all of the gunpowder is at this this mob farm, which I haven't used in such a long time, but there's still loads of resources piled up there, and here it is in view already, which I've just never seen that before. I've got all the gunpowder which I'll probably be needing for starting up the farm with TNT, and we've got loads of other stacks of gunpowder here, as you can see, if we ever needed any more. So I can definitely come back and get some of that. But I haven't yet revealed where exactly I'm going to be building this thing, the whole XP farm, and yeah, you can probably tell why I'm looking around this whole area, because I'm thinking of building it in this area. And the reason is, obviously we've cleared out all of the land already down below, and so it makes it a little bit easier, and it's just really the perfect place for building this thing. The only problem is we have this huge mob farm in the way currently, and that's not very useful at all. So yeah, this thing looks really awesome though, and I really don't want to destroy it. I really don't want to tear the whole thing down. Not only would it take ages to tear down, but also it's still a fully functional operating farm, and the rates are pretty decent. They're not bad at all, and the only other option I have, I guess, is to build the XP farm right next to it, or a little bit higher, but basically in the same area as this, just slightly over to the right there. And that would mean perhaps that the rates of this farm, or the rates of the XP farm, might be reduced a little bit unless I work on spawn proofing this area perfectly, because I'm guessing no mobs can spawn over here. But yeah, I guess I could do that. I guess I'm going to try that. I think what I'm going to do is build the XP farm up, see what kind of rates we get, and obviously I can switch this farm off and have the water extended all the way, and that should work. It should mean that we can use both of the farms whenever we want. I'm over here to collect the sugarcane, and a creeper has kindly blown up the chests for me, so I can actually just pick them all up. How nice of him. What a nice guy. Well, it turns out I've been a complete moron and forgotten the crafting recipe for TNT. So now I need to somehow go and gather many millions of stacks of sand, because we'll also need that to make the concrete powder, which is the next thing which I'm going to be collecting. And to make the concrete powder, I also need to make a concrete generator, because I think that will be really useful, and Mumbo has a really fantastic design which I'm going to look into. But aside from that, this just highlights the problem that I'm having right now. Currently I've got 2 XP and I need 30 to enchant this to efficiency, and I've run out of efficiency shovels, and that means, yeah, I've got no way of getting 30 XP at the moment because I don't have an XP farm, and that means I can't get the sand quickly, so I guess I'm just gonna have to grind it. Making this journey at night was a very bad idea. I very much regret this now. This is really odd, and I don't really know how to explain it, but I was out here minding my own business, mining some sand, and that guy is just staring at me. He's been tracking me for so long. And it's honestly kind of creepy, because I think wherever I go, he actually turns to face me. So if I go this way, I think he's still looking at me. So this is one cursed illager right here, who's just constantly tracking me wherever I go. And yeah, should I just carry on? I guess I'll just carry on. All of the sand has been collected. As you can see, we've got these 2 llamas also filled up with sand. And yeah, we have reached the end of the episode for today, but there is one thing which I want to investigate, which is this guy. He's still here, and I've just been tentatively walking around him and wondering why he's still staring at me. And yeah, he sounds quite angry. But he is literally... Oh, and he's moving. And yeah, he's come out of his trance. He's ready to kill me. Well, I think we're going to have to end this guy before he starts to creep me out again. There we go. But anyway, yes, we have reached the end of today's episode. And thank you all for watching. I hope you did enjoy it. Please be sure to leave a like. And maybe even subscribe as well. But hopefully we will be getting this XP farm built in the next episode. Hopefully we'll have all of the resources gathered up by then. And it's going to be awesome. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. So don't miss it. And thank you for watching. And I'll see you in the next one.